So you're here to figure out how to do more damage in Neverness to Everness. In this game right now, you may be fighting enemies and you feel like you don't know exactly what you're doing. Sometimes you see your enemy's HP bar go down quick. Sometimes you get to do cool looking swap combos, but you never really know when that happens. Do not worry, because in this video, we'll be going through how you can maximize the combat system in the game and help you shred through enemies way easier. And you'll likely do a bunch more damage compared to when you don't know what you're doing. Do use the timestamps for your convenience. Just real quick before we start, if you're looking for the best deals for top-ups in games like Neverness to Everness, I'd like to share with you the website I usually use, which is Loot Bar. Loot Bar is very direct. They offer the best prices for the same top-ups you'd find in-game. You can see how much you save right beside the price tag here. You can actually save quite a good amount, up to 25% if you register now with my link and use those new user coupons too. What's best for me is how easy it is to set up. Simply click on my link in the description, register an account if you don't have one yet, select any bundles you would like, complete the payment, choose self top-up, log into your account. Now this is secured since it is set up as a one-time cloud device, so you don't gotta worry about that. You'll then see your account in-game on the browser, go to the store and click on the bundle you purchased. You'll be able to redeem it right away and voila, you'll have your resources. Then simply log out, your data will be automatically cleared. I've been using Lootbar for almost 2 years now and I have had no issues, and they also have thousands of great reviews on Trustpilot. Lootbar's been around the block. They're also used by multiple other big name creators too, so you have no complaints from me. Just as a side note, Lootbar also has official CD keys on sale for some really big Steam games like Art Raiders. You get up to 80% off plus extra 20% cashback for these keys, so yeah, check it out. If you're interested, click my link in the description and give Lootbar a shot. It does help me out a ton as well, so I'd appreciate that. With that out the way, we'll start with tip number 1 to do more damage, which is actually utilizing your Esper cycles. You see, NTE looks standard. You got characters with different elements that uses different weapons. One would think all you have to do is to put in a main damage dealer and have the rest be supports, much like the logic of other games, and then you use just skills to support your main damage dealer and have the person just deal damage, right? But in NTE, it's not exactly that simple. The reason behind has to do with the main mechanic of the combat system of NTE. You actually want to build a team based on triggering Esper cycles. Esper cycles is one of the core mechanics of combat in NTE, which what it means is basically clicking when your character icon glows up on the right side of your screen during combat. The icons will only start glowing if your active character maxes out this element icon on the left side of your HP bar. This element icon is called the cycle gauge. The way you want to max it is simply by attacking your enemies. So yep, attack your enemies, max your cycle gauge, trigger the Esper cycles effect by swapping into the character icon that glows, and they'll come in with their own intro attack as well. That's how you do significantly more damage, and you see your enemy HP bar usually go down, or at the very least they will have various effects applied to them. And that is the core combat mechanic of NTE that isn't exactly just directly buffing your character and then have them do damage, right? By understanding how to do this and mastering them, you'll unlock a lot more damage output than you are doing right now if you've just been swapping and spamming basics or skills with your characters. Now you may be asking though, sometimes your character maxed their cycle gauge already, but somehow you just don't see the character icons glow at all. And why is that? The reason is actually to do with your elements. You see, you can only trigger Esper cycles with elements that are adjacent to each other in this element wheel that you can see in the formation screen. So for example, Nanali here, that is of the anima element, after maxing her cycle gauge, the character's icon on the right side of your screen will only glow if they are characters from adjacent elements to anima. And the elements that fit the criteria would be cosmos and incantation elements. Other elements will not trigger anything with the anima element, so even if you max your cycle gauge and the element they're using for the rest of your team is not cosmos or incantation, Nanali would not be able to trigger any intro attack or any Esper cycles with your allies. So here's an example. Let's say Nanali triggers the Esper cycle effect with the MC, which is of the cosmos element. The MC will come in with their intro attack and also trigger the very important Esper cycle blossom effect. This blossom effect specifically will spawn Vita buds near the character that launches attacks onto the target periodically. Now if Nanali triggers the Esper cycle effect with Sakiri, which is of the incantation element, you will trigger Esper cycle hexed instead. Now to remember, incantation and cosmos are two elements that are side by side with anima. That's how it can trigger Esper cycles. This hexed Esper cycle effect though is different. It deals additional instance of follow-up attack damage equal to 20% of anima and incantation damage taken within 12 seconds after triggering this effect. You'll notice as well how triggering different Esper cycles with different elements that are adjacent to each other will bring about different effects. All of them them are usually very beneficial, and you can explosively increase your damage output by using them. Building a team that intentionally work on triggering relevant Esper cycles and triggering as many of them as you can, as long as they are relevant to each other, will be crucial to maximize your damage output. If you have not figured out how in the world does the character icon glows and stuff, well, now you know, and you can have fun trying them out. One more thing to mention is that you would notice from the in-game Esper cycle guide that there are 2 Esper cycle effects that require 3 elements, namely the charge and discord Esper cycle. These can happen when you apply 2 relevant Esper cycles that overlap. So if you apply Blossom and the Remora effect on a target, you will then trigger the charge Esper cycle effect. And with that in mind, we move on to tip number 2, which will be team building and rotation. What you should do now is to build a team with only elements that are adjacent to each other based on the Esper cycle shown in the formation screen, while also keeping a smooth structure that allows your team to function. You wouldn't want only main damage dealers on your team of adjacent elements only, obviously. And you also don't want to force the adjacent elements and have a bunch of them without being able to utilize them well with the kits of your character. This is where we can talk about team building. The general idea in NTE is to build a team with a main on-field damage dealer, then balance out the rest of your team based on the Esper cycles that you want or can trigger along with the character's skills and supportive capabilities. For example, here's an Esper cycle Blossom team that has great performance. It'll feature Nanali as the main damage dealer, Jiuyuan and MC both as the burst or sub DPS, where their role is to quickly swap in, deal their damage, and continue to chain into the Esper cycles of your allies or swap out. Most teams will also have the last slot be someone like a general support, or even last 2 slots be supports. Someone like Sakiri would be really good for this team. She's from the incantation element, which is adjacent to Nanali's and Jiuyuan's anima, and that means she can also trigger Esper cycle hexed with the anima element. However, they're not yet triple element Esper cycle effects for this combination of elements yet, though that is most certainly going to change in the future. The idea with this team will be to lead with Nanali, start with her skill and ultimate, and genuinely just spam her basic from there. That's actually how you deal the most damage with Nanali anyway. Since she needs to stand on field for a while to finish her skill and ult's duration while doing the most damage, you'll be maxing your cycle gauge too. This is when you'll trigger the MC's intro attack and activate the Esper cycle Blossom effect. The MC will then use the ult and skill, instantly triggering another Esper cycle with Jiuyuan to get another Blossom in. Jiuyuan with an ult, skill, and hold her basic, and now that you're done with her entire kit, you can then choose to swap back to Nanali or Sakiri. Rinse and repeat. I usually trigger Sakiri's Esper cycle Hex next, and essentially trigger a mix of everything after that, getting consistent Blossoms and Hex to maximize the extra damage instance of Hexed and extra attacks from Blossom. Do note that Hexed is sort of like a debuff with a duration, so ideally you would have Hex maximized to fully cover your entire rotation, but it's not exactly that easy, at least not right now. However, though, we can make it so that you trigger the Hexed first in order to get that 12-second debuff duration that launches extra damage, and then go into Nanali to use her skill and ultimate, and that's when you maximize your damage output alongside a bunch of Blossoms that you already triggered. The combination of just using these 2 Esper cycles is quite explosive and way crazier than spamming your basics or spamming your skill and ults only with one character, not knowing the depth to this combat mechanic. This is only one of the team examples for Nanali that you can use. There are other options like swapping out Jiuyuan for Haniel just for general buffs for the team, and you will still have a valid triple element rotation that can work. In any case though, every single team has their near ideal rotation and team setup for sure, but that will probably be for another video. For now though, most people are going to be pulling for Nanali, and if you're wondering what a good team for Nanali looks like, it's something like this. The final tip I have for you would be an obvious one, but for beginner players, it's something that you may not be prioritizing. That is of course to upgrade your characters. I know, who doesn't do that, right? But specifically though, try and prioritize getting to unlock your support skills of your characters. These are kind of like passives, and they actually have very strong effects that instantly boost your overall damage output. Some changes or enhances the Esper cycle effects itself, which as you may already know is one of the big damage source for you. Other than that, obviously don't be afraid of upgrading the rest of your character's levels, arcs, everything basic like that is the most obvious one. That's why I left it for the last one. But do keep in mind these support skills are like unlocking more of your character's kit compared to just increasing number or multipliers. It's one of the things that you want to prioritize. If all that done, I hope I'm able to bring you through a quick guide on how to maximize damage output with this pretty unique combat system of Neverness to Everness. For beta players, you may probably find it obvious of what I'm saying, but as someone who haven't played the beta myself, it was definitely fresh for myself to research this, and I hope I'm able to help anyone else that are in the same position. And that'll be all. Hope you're doing a lot more damage now, and do follow me for more NTE content as I'll be covering the game. And take care.